If you're looking to fast track a lack of self-worth and lose all of your authenticity, the easiest way to do that is by being with someone who treats you like your average. You'll be there in no time, trust me. And I myself am so guilty of making excuses for people and making excuses for myself in the times when I've done that. I have definitely been with people in my earlier years of dating that I thought were way too good for me. So I self-destructed them because I didn't think that I was deserving of all that they had to offer. And when we're in relationships with people like that, something that we never talk about that needs to be discussed more is that we internalize those feelings. We do begin to think that we aren't worthy, even though we feel that way because we're with someone who feels unworthy of us. And so then it creates a cycle of us kind of staying in a relationship that isn't fulfilling our needs because we feel like we'll never get better. And maybe it's also because we empathize so much with our partners and with the person that we love that we want them to feel understood. So we spend a lot of time taking the things that they say or don't say very seriously because we care about the way that they feel. And it's always so crazy for me to look back on the times where I accepted certain treatments and how ignorant I was to the things that were happening in the relationship, because it wasn't that they were bad people. It wasn't that the person that I was with was abusing me and so terrible to me that I just lost my sense of self-worth. It was literally that I had weak boundaries. It was that I let somebody else's perception of me, because I called them my partner, I let their perception of me determine how I felt about myself, which is actually insane. But even if you have strong, good boundaries in a relationship, this is not a type of relationship that you should entertain. A relationship where someone perceives you as average or treats you like you're average is not a relationship that should be entertained, at least in my opinion. But what do I know? In my experience, I will tell you, if you don't treat me like I'm actually God's gift to earth, I don't want nothing to do with it. And to clarify, it's not a one-way street. I don't expect my partner to treat me like gold for me to treat them like dirt. Like, don't be crazy. When I have a partner, they are my best friend and they're my partner. And I mean that in the sense of the word. And I think that's something we need to ask ourselves is, if we're willing to accept that kind of treatment, what is the reason? Why are we willing to accept the kind of treatment where someone is treating us like we're average or not treating us like gold? I'm not talking about if your partner is going through a hard time. And I know that there are always people in my comment section of wherever, whatever platform I am posting on that are like, oh, well, not in this situation. Girl, obviously, I'm not the center of attention at all times. I'm human. I understand that they're human as well. If you're not being prioritized and you're not being shown an amount of affection that you can't even fathom ever having felt before, literally, what is the point? I think a lot of us, including myself in my past, are so focused, or were so focused on just wanting to maintain a relationship and wanting to have a partnership, that we just really wanted to be loved so bad we didn't care by who. And that problem can arise from our priorities being in the wrong place. This is why inner healing is so important and reflection is so important, because we need to understand why we're willing to settle for less. I think that in my earlier years of dating, I was adamant about just working towards a relationship. I kind of thought that you stay with your partner really within reason no matter what. Still at that time, I was willing to accept and I should say settle, really, because I was freaking settling. I was willing to settle for so much less than what my needs were. My needs were up here. And if someone met me here, I would be like, that's good enough. We forget that there are so many options out there and so many people that would literally drop dead on the floor to be able to have an opportunity with us. And I think that this is one of my most hated traits. I'm not a bitch. I just won't let anyone walk all over me. I won't accept less than I deserve. And that pisses people off who don't want to provide me with what I deserve in a relationship. And that's fine. Stay made. And looking back on those patterns, the only reason that I ever accepted that was because I truly did fear that I wasn't going to find someone who treated me as good as they treated me. And every relationship since I first ever started dating, they have all improved. And I'm here to tell you that because it's proof that we don't have to settle, because they do get better. And even though right now I'm currently single, I would so much rather be with myself and my child and just live my life on my own the way that I have been, because I enjoy my company, than settle for something that is not meeting my needs. I do expect a partner to be a partner. I don't feel like I have high standards, but I think that other people think that I do, because I won't accept just anything. And I personally love that quality about me because it has brought me beautiful experiences in my life. And I know immediately if I'm in a relationship and something is not cutting it for me and I communicate that and it doesn't change, the relationship is not for me. One thing that will always be true is that your needs deserve to be met. Of course, there's a lot that goes into this. You can't expect the world from someone to where they don't have enough space to give the world to themselves as well. And if we are so steadfast in making a relationship work through anything, then we're going to lose ourselves in that process. And another thing I want to say is that people don't find gold by collecting pennies. The way that I want to be treated by someone and that I feel like I deserve to be treated by someone is exactly how I would treat the person that I am looking for. And that is why that is my standard. That is why I say, if you're treating me like I'm average, you're not for me, okay? You're not for me, love. And as I said earlier, I'm still single. So I haven't necessarily found my person yet. I haven't necessarily found exactly what I'm looking for yet, and that's fine. I'm willing to wait and just have a bunch of beautiful experiences on the way, because I would much rather spend this time with myself and show up for myself and be with myself because I know how to love me, than to settle for someone who doesn't, or than to settle for less than I deserve. And I cannot stress this enough, you are never running out of options. If what you're looking for is a perfect relationship, you might be looking for the wrong thing. But if what you're looking for is reciprocation and not having to settle, you will find that. You will find someone who can match you and who can reciprocate what you are giving. You just have to leave enough room in your life for that person to be brought in. Because think about it this way, if you maintain a relationship with someone who isn't meeting your needs and who is finding every excuse under the sun to not meet your needs, then what? Then that space in your life for romance is taken up by someone who is not meeting your needs. So there's no room for anyone new to come in because all of your energy is given to that. And even if you're in a situation where you've already mentally checked out of the relationship, my question is, what's the point in being in it then? When I talk about like being treated like I'm average, so to speak, I mean a lack of reciprocation when it comes to communicating the way that I feel. I mean a lack of reciprocation when it comes to showing love. I don't just simply mean to post me and show me off and treat me like I'm gold and buy me a bunch of things. Although that sounds nice. That does sound nice. But I'm mostly referencing if I communicate the way that I feel and it's not taken seriously until I'm halfway out the door, that's not a relationship I'm willing to stay in. That just shows me that the way that I feel doesn't matter to you until it directly affects you and it directly affects your ideal outcome. And for me, that's not a kind of love that I feel is worth keeping around, because I don't know that that's really love at all. I think it's selfish and I think it's juvenile. Now, an ideal relationship for me personally would look like that reciprocation, where even if you might not agree with the way that I feel, we can at the very least come to a conclusion. It doesn't have to mean your partner doing everything that you say with no exceptions. It means showing up and putting the ego to the side for a second because I'm more important than your ego. Because I know for sure my partner is more important than mine. And that's not how it's always been for me. I have not always been able to put my ego aside for someone that I've loved. And I've lost people because of that. I've played the part of the partner who wasn't reciprocal. I've played the part of not giving to my partner what they were giving me. And I've hurt people in that way. But I've also played the part in the relationship where I'm giving endlessly and just looking for the same in return and constantly feeling left behind, constantly feeling neglected when it came to love. And that leads me to my next thing, which is two sides of the extremes. One extreme is I'm gonna keep my distance and keep you at arm's length because I don't feel safe enough to be fully committed to you, to dedicate this level of reciprocation to you, because I don't know if this is gonna last and I'm scared of abandonment. And then the other side of that is people pleasing, giving you so much love as I possibly can because I think that it will be reciprocated because I'm giving so much of it. And then that's just inevitable hurt waiting to happen. Finding the balance in between that is the most important thing that you can do if you want a reciprocal relationship where you're not treated like you're average, you're not treating someone like they're average, and you guys actually feel like you're equal and on the same level. And I think that the balance that I have found is setting really firm boundaries with myself. If someone is not meeting a need that I find to be a need, important to me, something that I require in my love life, there is no reason to keep them around. If it is communicated and there are still no changes being made, for me, I'm out. I don't need to wait around for you to decide to change. Me being me should be enough for you to say, hey, this really bothers me that it's bothering you. And that's another important detail for relationships for me. You wanna understand me. You wanna understand where that's coming from. And when I do say I'm not willing to be with someone who treats me like I'm average, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who's present enough to actually care about the way I feel. I know, radical thinking. And I'm talking about someone who would never put themselves in a situation to lose me. And that includes a lack of communication. That includes a lack of empathy. That includes a lack of showing love. There are a lot of details to a relationship that keep it functioning and moving. And it's only gonna seem like a lot to someone who looks at your relationship as a chore. I don't wanna be with anyone who looks at their relationship with me as a chore or an obligation. I also just don't believe in second chances. I don't believe in second chances because of exactly what I just said. I wouldn't want to be with someone who would ever put themselves in a situation to potentially lose me. Because what does that say about how you feel about me? What does that say about how you view and perceive our dynamic and our relationship? No. No. And I think that you can tell a lot about a person and how they feel about you based off of how they function during a disagreement. I've always said this, you need to be able to put your ego and your pride aside when you're working on relationships with your partner. And I'm very certain of what I want and expect and deserve from a partner. So a lot of the times that does come off as very intimidating because I'm like, I'm not budging on what I deserve. I of course will make sacrifices and I will compromise for my partner. I think that those are really important qualities that hold a relationship together. But I also think that it's important to not sacrifice your boundaries and your needs. Those are two things that cannot be released, because if you let that go, you are denying yourself. And if you're not showing up for yourself in the relationship and in life, who else is going to do that? It takes a lot to grow and heal, but one of the most important things is understanding if you don't show up for yourself, nobody else will. You are your biggest supporter. The sooner that we realize that, the sooner that we understand how many times we wish we realized that sooner. But you won't ever catch me settling for someone or sticking around for someone who treats me like I'm average, because I'm not, and I don't deserve to be treated as such. The only thing in the way of you feeling the same, the only thing in the way of you not settling for less, is how you view yourself. It's not how other people treat you. It's not how other partners have treated you. It's all coming down to what you accept and what you think of yourself. Because our external world is a complete projection of our inner world. So if we have such low frequencies and low perspectives of ourselves, our outer world is going to reflect that as well. We'll be surrounded by people with lower vibrations and people who probably treat us that way as well. If you see people in your outside world and they kind of seem to mimic your intrusive thoughts, that's a problem. That's how you know. And the most important takeaway from this video is don't let anyone treat you like you're average, because you're not. There is an excessive amount of opportunities out there for actual reciprocal love for you. You just haven't found them yet. And if you waste time with someone who isn't meeting your needs, you're gonna be stuck there. You're not gonna leave room for a better opportunity for you to come in, a more reciprocal love, a more reciprocal connection. But it is out there and you need to know that it's accessible. And the last important takeaway from this video, and what I think to be the most important, is that your perspective of yourself is what you will attract. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And if you have a negative perspective of yourself, you're going to attract people who personify that. And you don't deserve that. You deserve so much better than that, because you are not average. Love you.